I'm Stephen John Drew.
I'm Chris Farrell.
And I'm Steve Boyd, and we're the hosts of Walking the Walking Dead,
a podcast member of the GonnaGeek Network.
Just like the one you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual.
Check out other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Now get ready, because geekiness begins in 3,
2,
1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
I'm an IT guy. You should never delete. Most of the time you delete, you regret deleting.
They rage.
You guys are being like hypersensitive with your point to be offended. Oh, he deleted his Twitter account. Oh, I'm mad. What?
And sometimes they're even funny.
Tell your wife that I said hello again and sorry I couldn't be there tonight.
That's okay. Your wife says hi too.
Let me emphasize that. Sometimes. Welcome to the GonnaGeek.com podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 116 of the GonnaGeek.com podcast. We are live once again at GonnaGeek.com/live, and you can find us there every week and chime in and chat with us. I'm Stephen John Drew, and with me today is once again a full crew with Stargate Pioneer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Chris Farrell.
Hello, hello, hello.
And the one and only Jean-Sebastien, French-Canadian sensation.
What is up, people? What is up?
How's everybody's weeks doing? What you guys up to?
Not
Watching
having
lots of
Thanksgiving.
pornography. Oh, it's the Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we know how to do things right up here. We know that having two turkey-based dinners 29 days apart is a terrible idea. So we throw our Thanksgiving in on Monday, the second Monday in October, which was yesterday. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you Canadian brothers and sisters out there. And happy Canadian Thanksgiving to any of you who either are honorary Canadians, SP and Chris, or just want to celebrate the right Thanksgiving.
Does this mean this is Canadian Black Tuesday?
Yeah, panic. Christmas season has started.
Ugh, actually, the scary thing is it has. I've already started seeing Christmas decorations for sale in places. I'm like, it's not even Halloween.
Oh,
you guys
God.
suck.
Oh, no, we don't do Black Friday up here. Well, we do, but we do a terrible version of it. So, yeah, that's what happens.
As long as you do Cyber Monday, that's all that matters.
I want to say Cyber Monday started in Canada.
No,
I feel like it
not.
did. Oh, JS, you were supposed to go along with me and convince them that it did. Come on, I set you up perfectly for that one.
This is almost as bad as
I
when
think
you get...
you're right. I think Cyber Monday did start in Canada. You're right, but it was in response to Black Friday. Is that correct?
Yeah, there you go. But listener, we would like to know if you celebrate real Canadian Thanksgiving, and you can call us and tell us at 567-343-GEEK. That's 567-343-4335. As well, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/GonnaGeek. Twitter.com/GonnaGeek. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/GonnaGeek. And when all else fails, go to GonnaGeek.com and check out all of the shows and contacting ways there. But let's just go ahead and move on in to the next segment, which is the news. Alrighty, news. Let's start off with the one and only Stargate Pioneer. SP, what do you got going on for your news this week?
Well, I have a wonderful story that just came out. Reuters reported today that the repaired SpaceX rocket is to fly by early December. And the countdown page on the SpaceX website says 1 December right now. They have fixed the issue. If you recall, they had a little bit of a boo-boo earlier on, and they had to halt flight operations while they fixed a bracket, apparently, in an upper stage rocket motor. And they are set to fly a foreign satellite and try to land the lower stage or the first stage, on the Ocean platform again. Like I said, they are right now projecting the 1st of December. I'm sure that's weather dependent and dependent on if the countdown goes successful between now and then. Because as we all know, space travel is not routine right now, and anything can go wrong even after you fix something. So this is exciting to see SpaceX is back up in the space game and waiting the launch of their Falcon 9 rocket.
That's awesome. It's they had a bit of a setback there, and I like seeing this. This makes me happy.
Big booster go boom.
It's always good when space travel becomes news again, and things that are good or wow, good things are happening. I can't talk tonight, guys. Sorry about that. Tongue twister.
That's all right. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. We're allowed some boo-boos, right?
Well, it isn't anymore. That was
It's
just
the Canadian-
awesome Thanksgiving.
So it's the Canadian Thanksgiving hangover, is what you're saying right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I took today off, so that I could get drunk yesterday all alone. But then again,
Do you even get drunk? You don't even...
JS, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. You know the answer to that question.
You don't.
I'm drunk every moment of my life.
He comes home and just cracks open a cold one just to make it through the day.
What? I don't do it at work? No, if anybody from work is listening, I do not do it at work. That was a joke. Don't fire me.
You do it in the car right before you walk in.
Everyone else gets smoke breaks. Steven gets a drink break.
Oh, man.
That's
Disclaimer,
not ginger
none
ale.
of this is accurate. Disclaimer, none of this is accurate. Please do not fire one Stephen John Drew from his job.
Yes, please don't. Have you ever known anybody, though, that has done that? I've known some people over the years who have been a little tipsy at work, and I'm like, really? Like, you obviously don't value your job.
You know, we were just talking about that at work today, and because of what had happened with the NFL over the weekend, and no, not at our place. I mean, and the question was, what gets you to that point, right? At what point in time do you finally get to the point where you just you can't distinguish between when to stop drinking and when to go to work?
Yeah. And by the way, the person that I am thinking of is no longer with the company. So
if you're unable to make the difference or the call of when to stop drinking while going to eat during lunchtime, you shouldn't be drinking during lunchtime. It's as simple as that. If you can't make that call is you shouldn't even be attempting that.
I can get on board with that. But moving on in the news, Chris, can you get on board with this subject?
Sure. Hey guys, did you know you could find porn for free on the internet?
No.
No way. Tell me some websites.
Evidently, Hugh Hefner just figured this out, because I guess the big news this morning was, and it's kind of a titillating subject, pun intended, that Playboy, as of March 2016, will no longer be publishing pictures of naked ladies anymore. Now, that's not the big... I'm only setting this up to talk about something else tied off of this. We're kind of seeing this trend now where the internet's kind of killing magazines and regular publications because everyone's like, I can go read it online for free. This is just yet another magazine that is going to get shut down in the end because people can go on the internet and view the same content for free. You've seen it with PC gaming magazines. You've seen it with video gaming magazines, comic book magazines. It's just the way of the world now.
What's a comic book magazine?
Do you remember Wizard?
Oh,
snap! You thought that he was making a mistake,
Yeah, I
did. Wizard and Toy Fair, man.
I actually have a lot to say about this, Chris. So,
are you upset about the Playboy stuff?
What's that?
Are you upset about the Playboy news?
No, just in general, the industry in general. So remember the Boston bombing, the marathon bombing a couple of years ago?
Mm-hmm.
The Boston Globe went free for that period of time. They said, this is too important, we're going to go free. But normally, their articles, the Washington Post articles, the New York Times articles, whatever, they'll give you a little snippet, right? A little 3-line thing, and then they'll block it off and said the rest of this is paid content. So even online, because they're not selling as many magazines, they're not selling as many books. The content is metered what you get for free these days, and the sites that give you the content for free it's not actually free. They're getting advertisement dollars, they're getting support dollars, whether it's from corporations, from sponsorships, Patreon, PayPal, whatever. So there still needs to be a market for this sort of thing. It's just in this particular case with Playboy being a actual hard magazine, paper magazine, a physical magazine, they're just not selling anymore. Their subscription, if I remember the article correctly, the one I read this morning, it said their subscriptions are down from something like 2.2 million down to 800,000 in their circulation, something like that. So that's a big hit to your business.
Are dying.
Well, I mean, the thing is now you can actually say you're going to read Playboy for the articles. The joke always used to be you'd get it and be like, I just read it for the articles, I swear. Literally, Playboy is basically going to be Maxim magazine now.
Well, I was actually on the ferry recently and was walking around the gift shop, and I ended up seeing, like, they had the top row of whatever magazines you want to call this category. And I actually thought to myself, like, these guys are still in business? Like, I just don't get it. And
the website makes a lot of money, man.
Yeah, but I was surprised to still see the articles see the printed version. And I'm just glad. I think that this is an exact example of what we talked about years ago, JS, on the Fanboy Buzz with the comic book industry, right? It's a great representation of it. It's just that porn and nudie last longer than comics, and so that's why we're seeing the tail come a little bit later. So
it's ending. I mean, I think print is ending for sure. In any format you look at.
The big thing to consider is if anyone wants to watch porn, there's like 4,000 different websites out there. I'm sure they can find. You just have to Google the word porn, and you'll get a bajillion different results. So wanting to get a print magazine of porn, even if it's tasteful porn, as you might say Playboy is, what's the point? It's free everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying for it.
No, that's so true.
Now, Chris, I do love what you do for the print comics, though.
Oh, my theory of what I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what SP is referring to, I think I talked about in the last ATGN, is I buy comics from my local comic book shop, and most of the ones I buy there come with the digital redemption code. So I redeem the digital code, and then I put together some boxes of comics every 3 to 6 months or so, and I take them to either Goodwill or the library to give to kids and stuff like that. So I get my digital comics that way, and then you pass along the comics for someone else to read. And the nice benefit also is, since I'm a subscriber at my local comic shop, I get like 15% off my comics. So it's cheaper for me to actually redeem the digital tokens than buy them digitally.
Good for you, Chris. Pat yourself on the back for that. There you go. Good job. Good job.
I like the cheesy smile that goes with that. That's great.
Please, somebody make an animated GIF of that and send it to me.
Yeah. From good news to not so good news, especially if you're employed with Twitter, guess what? Twitter has announced that they are laying off 336 people. Now, you may not be familiar with this, but Twitter has been on a bit of a financial losing trend, and that's something that there's been a bit of CEO shifts over the last few years. And the new CEO is in, which happens to be the same CEO that was there a few years ago. But first order of business, bye-bye.
Did you see which percent of employees was given the axe or respectfully laid off, as they said during the article? Did you see it was 8%, but it was all their research and development. It was all their future stuff. So they're cutting that out because they need to get leaner and meaner. And what does this mean in the long term? They're not going to have the guys looking at the futuristic stuff to integrate with Periscope or potentially Blab in the future or whatever. So if they don't do that, then they become stagnant, and then they risk losing their place in the social media marketplace.
Yeah, and that's really a thing that I wanted to bring up on this, because JS is a great example. He was so active on Twitter when I first kind of knew him, and one of the guys that I was always reading every tweet that came out. I thought he used it really well, and it went from like 100 to 0 in place of going to Instagram, I think it was.
Yeah,
so
Instagram, man, 100% Instagram. Now.
So these development areas of opportunity, they still need to be followed through with, because that is something that Twitter will, I believe Twitter will start to fade if they don't get a little more creative and move things in a bit different direction.
Well, the thing is, Twitter's been trying forever to become profitable. I mean, they make some money, but it's through sponsored tweets and things like that. They have not quite found the magic formula to figure out how to make 140 characters equal money for them to make. All their money comes from the advertising side, I think. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that was my understanding. So that's why you see a bunch of all these initiatives of, well, we're going to use Twitter to reach out to our fans and things like that. It's not quite there. They've been struggling with this for years. Twitter's been around since what? 09, I want to say? 08?
Yes, something like that. It's been around. JS, do you know how long they've been around?
That's been what?
That Twitter's been around for?
No. I would say 2004? 2004?
Oh, no.
No,
It was later than that. I remember the big debates around 2008, 2009 about, you can only talk in 140 characters. Oh, we can't do that. Oh no, we can't.
Yeah, but that's the time where it became popular. And I think maybe 2006.
According to Google, it was March 21, 2006.
Okay.
Was the founding of Twitter.
Okay, that's
Suncast.
It was
brought
very,
point
very,
up
very popular with the early podcasters.
Yes, it was. I first heard about it via podcasters.
Yeah, super popular with the early podcasters.
Yeah, Suncast brings up a really good point in the chat room. He said Twitter's also pissed a lot of people off with their API limits, and that is very true. If you look at some of the earlier days of Twitter, where you had all these fantastic Twitter apps that were out there, the Twitter API was pretty much open. You could do whatever it is you wanted out of that to make a good app. And then eventually, Twitter started restricting what was going out to the third-party vendors and locking it down so they could have the ideal app for accessing Twitter. So you started to see, I want to say probably about 3 years ago, all of these great third-party apps, they started getting limited to how many API keys they were allowed to have and things like that. So things would get capped out at a certain number of users in favor of trying to push the official Twitter app, because that's where all the advertising comes in through. Like, you don't see the ad tweets and like Tweetbot, which is what I use on my iOS device.
Yeah, they couldn't monetize. That's the real problem. The real problem is they went public and they couldn't monetize.
Exactly.
That's their big problem. That people invested, thought it was going to be the next
next MySpace. Yeah, it was going to be the next MySpace, because before MySpace died off.
It couldn't monetize. When they went public, them going public was not the right thing to do. Mind you, I'm not an economist and I don't know why, and I'm sure they needed to grow or they needed some money, but it didn't help them. It didn't help them, and the CEO shuffling was really bad.
Well, it's a typical Silicon Valley company right now that's trying to grow into something bigger. That's the problems you see, is that they have growing pains like this, and some survive it. Like, look at Facebook now. Facebook's a behemoth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Facebook has a product that everybody can use, and they're a Google for social media. That's what they are. They make so much money with advertising.
Yep.
That's what they are.
Because
Twitter couldn't do that. Twitter has nothing.
The reason why Facebook actually makes money is not only with the integration with the browsers and getting the cache information, but because they have your actual name, right? They have, and we talked about this on the cast before, but they have the data, the demographic data that anybody that wants to market specifically or whatever.
It's paid advertising. I mean, I've done pay-per-clicks on Google for the store. It's a lot about that. Like, that's where the money is. The money is in the Google method. Or
so Rob Walsh over at Podcast 411, or the Libsyn podcast called The Feed, he's done a little experiment for Podcast 411, not Podcast 411, his Today in iOS. He did a little experiment on Facebook by paying to do, what is it called, advertisement or whatever, promote, whatever. And he calculated that in order to get back the money that he spent, it would be 5 years. So for the specific use of podcasting, it's not worth it. Now, obviously, bigger businesses have much broader reach and much broader business capability, so they can do it. But for podcasting, it doesn't look like it's really beneficial, at least today.
True. True. And just in the chat there, Suncast says, I don't think all of these tech companies need to go public. And I agree.
No.
I agree.
But they go public because they need to get money. They need to finance.
Yep.
They
true.
can't get enough money.
You can't rely on angel investors forever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, one last news point before we do go on into the Geek Back. What is exciting news to end us on a high note? As you Star Wars fans may be familiar with, there is a fellow directing this upcoming film called J.J. Abrams. Did I get that right? Chris, did I pronounce that right?
It's pronounced J.J. Lensflare Abrams.
Right. Sorry. Lensflare.
If you
Lens
listened
fair.
to the fanboy buzz, it was J.J. Abrahams, if I remember
That's
correctly.
right. J.J.
Abrahams. Yeah, he built an ark and put people in it.
Now, J.J. Abrams, obviously, I think universally has been touted as a good pick for directing, and he toots too, for this upcoming film. And as much as Chris hated it, I think that Star Trek, both movies, are a great example about how he's the right fit for Star Wars. So
Yeah, because he made them Star Wars.
So we've all had questions for a while. Now, this is under the Disney umbrella. What's going to happen? How much is the Disney ears coming in and going, change that here? Well, good news. He's come out and he said that they are not Disneyfying his product, and he does get final say. So I thought that was really exciting news.
There's that, and I think AMC on their movie listings has showed that the runtime is 2 hours and 23 minutes for Star Wars right now. That came out today too, based off of the most recent Abrams cut. Abraham's cut.
That's long. I like it.
And the first 2 minutes is an homage to the missing Fox
Oh yeah,
pre-roll.
that's going to be so weird. I heard people talk about that. If you bought the re-release of the Star Wars movies when they went out digital, the only one that has the Fox pre-roll is A New Hope, and that's so synonymous with Star Wars for so many people. The Fox credit roll, it's going to seem really weird
I
to go
agree.
and watch one in the theaters and not have the Fox music roll in and then kick off the movie. I'm sure they'll have to come up with something that sounds semi like that.
Somebody will just stand up at the front of the theater and just hold up a 40-inch TV, playing it.
That's an awesome idea. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring my cardboard stuff and paint it like a 20th Century Fox and sit in the front, and then when it starts, stand up and go, ah! That's a
you
good
go.
idea.
And I'll bet if you start humming it, everybody else will hum it along with you. I guarantee you.
I know.
Guarantee you.
Somebody should cosplay as the intro.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. That's good.
It's like spotlights and go blip, 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 blip. That'd be awesome.
With LED lights and everything. It'd be great.
Oh,
But
man.
they're supposed to re-release. They haven't done it yet, but they were supposed to re-release the original.
This is
The
the rumor
originals.
that never dies. This happens every year.
Yeah.
It would be smart because Lucas didn't want to do it, but they could milk it even more by re-releasing like a 6-box box set. So I have to own 1, 2, and 3 again. Charge me an arm and a leg because they know I want 4, 5, and 6 original release.
Well, they've done it on DVD though, right?
No, never. The only time you can get the original digital is on Laserdisc. That's the only reason why I own a Laserdisc player.
Oh.
It was only on Laserdisc. There is no other real digital print of the original movie.
Are you
The
sure?
ones that
I thought I had it.
No, when it came on DVD, it was a special edition that had been re-released with Jabba the Hutt. Han shoots that doesn't shoot first anymore. All that stuff. There is no digital.
I thought the DVD release in 2009 came with 2 copies of the movie, the special edition and the original cut.
I think so.
There is no original cut out there, man.
So wait, I've actually got something. If you go to Amazon, I just looked up the Star Wars 4 A New Hope. It comes with a 2-disc box set. Box 1 is the widescreen feature enhanced trilogy version. Box 2 is disc 2 is the widescreen feature original theatrical movie in Dolby 2.0 surround sound.
Without the added stuff.
Yes, I think so.
All the wikis say there's no before they were modified. So it refers to the original. Original unaltered trilogy is what it's supposed to be called. Trilogy. The set has been repackaged for November. The original theoretical release before they were modified for the special edition.
Okay, so this is an enhanced version after the original, but before the special edition, I think. Then there's so many damn versions of this movie.
Yeah, so they reworked. If you look at the images, they reworked the blue and the sabers. They reworked the ghosts at the end.
Well, that's disappointing, and I think, though, that they should definitely do a full trilogy of the originals so that they can take more of my money. So hopefully they'll end up doing that. But
money.
That's going to go ahead and bring us towards the end of the news. Unless, JS, you've got something you want to chime in.
Not whatsoever.
All right, let's go ahead and move on into Geek Back. This week on Geek Back, I posed a simple question. As you may know, last week on Tuesday was the season premiere of The Flash, and Wednesday was the season premiere of Arrow. I asked, which of these two did you prefer, and what were your highlights and your lowlights? And I got the following. Michelle Ely said, Arrow, because I don't have to worry about keeping track of different timelines. I enjoyed The Flash, but it seems the big bad is another speedster. I hope they can do more than timeline stuff on The Flash. Also, on Arrow, the female characters have improved and have grown into their own. I loved that Felicity was helping the team behind Ollie's back. And then we had Pete Dooling say, Arrow had a better episode, but I like Flash better as a show looking forward to Jay Garrick and multiverses, and loved Ollie finally going by Green Arrow, hoping the power vacuum in Star City leads to a possible Mare Queen like in the comics. For me personally, I really, really thought that The Flash was not good. I honestly thought that Arrow, once again, did a much better job of season opening. And I think that The Flash, to me, it felt like they were trying to close up way too many plot lines from season one in one episode. It just felt stuffed with information. They've got this random, like, throwaway 2-sentence thing about his dad now being out of prison and going away, and it just felt all over the place.
Spoiler alert.
Some of us haven't seen Flash yet.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so they wrapped up some storylines, and I'll walk a little more carefully now. And I just honestly overall thought that it was a letdown. Bad flow, bad everything. And just Arrow was way better. So with that said, I also said the same thing last year. And The Flash did prove itself to be a worthy show on the CW and a great comic book show. So looking forward to see how they recover from this, I guess. But yeah, for me, Arrow won. Chris, I know you did get around to watching it, didn't you?
Yeah, so the difference here is that Arrow had a much easier end point to start from for season 4. There wasn't a big cliffhanger there, whereas Flash ended with a cliffhanger. They had to resolve all of that. So I think it's a lot easier to start a new story without having to wrap up the old story, which is what they could do in Arrow. And I will personally say I probably enjoyed Arrow more because they introduced the new big bad in Arrow, whereas Flash is kind of wrap up of season 1. And set a few things in motion at the very end. That, and I love the fact that Neil McDonough is just super badass as Damien Dark. He is on screen evil and just enjoying the hell out of being evil, and I love it.
I just can't. I picture him assimilating at some point. That's all. I feel like he's going to assimilate somebody.
He's going to get assimilated?
Hey, he almost assimilated somebody.
Resistance is futile. Okay,
did.
I got four words.
Okay.
This is so cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting though to see where Thea goes, because she's a loose cannon, very loose cannon. And if you like either of these television programs, I encourage you to go to GonnaGeek.com, because there is Starling Tribune, which is every Thursday live, which is the Arrow podcast, and we have the Crimson Comet, which is the Flash the Flash podcast on the GonnaGeek network. So I encourage you to check those out at GonnaGeek.com. Speaking of GonnaGeek.com, we also have a podcast on there that is called In Defensive, and In Defensive just recently aired episode 9, which is called The Working Geek. Now, we haven't talked a lot about this podcast, but what I particularly like about this podcast is Keir. He's the guy that runs this. He brings in a bunch of geeks each week. He ends up talking about a specific geek subject, debate on it, come to some discussions, come to some, I guess, agreements, some disagreements, and just some great food for thought topics. So if you have not checked out In Defensive yet, it is one of the newer podcasts on the GonnaGeek network, and I encourage you to check that out. But I suppose that's going to go ahead and take us towards the end of the show. Before we do close, I'll do the usual advertisements / comments. Chris, do you have anything that you want to comment on or advertise or talk about?
I'll say the normal thing I always say. Go check out all of the great podcasts on the network over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. There's almost anything you'd want to listen to, you can find it there.
Awesome. SP, you got anything?
I just have one little reminder. We had this little bet. The operator back on Legends podcast a few months ago started this bet amongst the GonnaGeek personnel. But if you want to get into it, please give us a call, give us a tweet, give us an email to this podcast, and we're going to consolidate everything right before Star Wars releases. Now, there's 2 parts to the bet. How much is Star Wars going to earn on its opening weekend? And then how much is Star Wars going to earn overall? So get those informations to us, and we will include you in our bet.
Awesome. JS, you got anything?
I do. I started watching Mr. Robot. For those who haven't started watching that, you must. It is, the best way to describe it is Hackers meets Fight Club. It's amazing.
Ooh,
it takes a very dark turn, though. You have to be prepared for the darkness, and I honestly wasn't, and I still have not seen the season finale, which has aired here in the United States, but in Canada, I think it's still airing up there for you guys.
Gotcha.
It definitely involves, he's like I said, it's Fight Club meets Hackers. If you are aware of how Fight Club, I mean, it's an old movie now. It's almost 12 years old. It's got a lot of Fight Club stuff. You aren't too sure what's really happening, and he pretty much tells you, so these aren't spoilers.
I guarantee you, if you haven't seen it and you haven't been spoiled, I guarantee you will not guess what's going on until they tell you. It's that good.
Awesome.
Does it have the Angelina Jolie side boob? Yes or no?
It does not have Angelina Jolie side boob, but there are some good looking girls, and they do have that Hackers look. Again, like I said, I think the best way to describe it is you take Hackers, you meld it with Fight Club, and you have this. I
cannot disagree with. It's a great description.
Some people say at episode 3 it takes a turn, and a lot of people either liked it more after episode 3 or hated it more after episode 3. So it's a like or dislike. I am very much liking it right now. I'm only at episode 2. It was slow.
Even after that, there's another, and then there's another. So it's so many twists and turns. You will not stay spoiler free on it and just enjoy it, because it takes you on a ride.
That's awesome. But I suppose that's going to take us to the end of episode 116 of the GonnaGeek.com podcast. Before I say my name, I'm going to let you know the next 2 weeks we will be on Mondays. So please come back and check us on Mondays at the usual time, 5:45 p.m. Pacific, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. I am Stephen John Drew.
I'm Chris Farrell.
I'm Stargate Pioneer, and I like my rocket.
Tobor likes your rocket too.
See you next Monday. Bye.
Bye.
From everyone here at the GonnaGeek.com podcast, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to podcast@GonnaGeek.com. You can find all of our show history at GonnaGeek.com/official podcast. And while you're there, why not head over and check out all of the geeky podcasts on the GonnaGeek Network. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next week.